My name is Veronica Owen Smith. I married a man named Ronald Smith, and they call me Ronnie. So we were Ronnie and Ronnie Smith until he passed away recently. I grew up in Danbury on River Street, living over my father's tailor shop. Danbury was a real nice place to grow up. When I was a kid, we used to play hide and seek behind all the fur shops that were on River Street at night when it was dark, and nobody had to worry about the kids playing or anything, and nobody thought anything about it. Right next to my father's tailor shop, going toward Elm Street, there was a barber shop, and that was run by Art Lubis. Yeah, his father before him. And next to us, there were 3 dwellings. 3 black families lived: Mrs. Cromwell, Mrs. Darden, and Mrs. Smith. And to this day, Mrs. Smith was sort of the one watching the kids while we're out playing. The parent, of course, my father were at the tailor shop, and next to us, Mrs. Cromwell and the other lady were, I don't know what they did. They were just always there. Anyway, but I remember Mrs. Smith, heavy woman. Whenever we had any problems, she would go out and solve our problems. And to this day, I can almost feel her hugging me and crushing me to her bazumbas and calming me down for something or other. But it was an easy life. It was we had no problems. We'd skate around the block, Elm Street, Main Street, and then up Elm Street and back home. And we used to be outside playing in the streets until maybe 9 o'clock. My mother and father shut their tailor shop, so I was usually out playing with everybody else until 9 o'clock at night.
So you were born in Danbury?
I was born in Bridgeport. My parents were living in Danbury, but my father took my mother to Bridgeport to have the baby because her parents lived in Bridgeport.
And what year was that?
1934.
And did you have any siblings?
No, I was the only child.
And you went to Danbury schools?
Yes, I went to New Street School. We walked to school every day, walked home for lunch, then walked back to school. I went to Main Street School, and then I went to Danbury High School, and then I went to Wisconsin.
Do you have any particular memories that you'd like to share about your time in school here in Danbury?
Let me stop and think. It was easy, I don't remember anybody any fighting or anything like that in school. I mean, they at that time the boys played on one side of the school and girls played on the other. And when we went out together as a class, we played boys and girls. But other than that, they had seesaws and all kinds of things. And I remember playing a lot of marbles. I had a lot of marbles. Go home and make a design on the ground, and you play them, and had a big bunch of them, and you took them home. And no, I don't remember too much. We didn't have any problems. Bathrooms were outside. Bathrooms in the school. You had to go out and go under a big shed, and that was on that side, and I assumed there was some for the boys on the other side. No, it was just very easy. You know which teacher you're going to have every year because you went by. If you had this first grade teacher, you had this one, second, third, fourth, so you knew up to 6th grade, and we were there until 6th grade. Life was very calm, as I remember it. No, I don't ever remember anything happening that would have upset us as children. Mm-hmm. Of course, years ago, parents didn't talk about things that were going on around them as readily in front of their kids, I think, as they do nowadays. Well, of course, children are exposed to more now with the TV and everything. I mean, what did we have? We had a radio. When you wanted to listen, you listened to Gabriel Heater. Mm-hmm. I remember when the Shadow came on, and he used to laugh. I used to go hide behind the chair. So anyway, that's how it was. I went to the library, walked to the library every day and got some books, took them home and read them, and took them back the next day and got some more books to read. And I liked the library. They used to let me help stack the books after a while when they knew I was, when I knew what I was doing. And when I was still of a younger age, they let me go upstairs. I could go upstairs. Upstairs, that was just for adults. But, I just read. What did you have to do? You played, and if you didn't work playing, you could listen to the radio, or you could read, or you could embroider, or knit, so you learned all those little things.
So we've had several people come in and they have memories of, say, the flood or the bombing on Main Street or any of those big events in Danbury. Do you have any memories about those?
No.
No, nothing.
I remember on Halloween, we'd have the parade down the middle of Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you could, for a trick or treat, we'd take a big pillowcase and we'd go around, a bunch of us from house to house. No adult went with us. We just went around. There were not a lot of street lights, but nobody bothered you.
Mm-hmm.
You'd get a lot of candy,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd dump it out on the table when you got home. But to say anybody bothered you could go, Danbury was a very peaceful town. There were very few people. There were only 2 people that our parents told us to stay away from. For various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, we didn't know why, but you just didn't go near that woman and that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but yeah, it was nice. It was nice. Store next door. I'd ask my father for, can I have a nickel? He'd give me in his pocket and pick up the nickel, and I'd go to this little store around the corner, and they had like a big display of all kinds of candy, penny candy, and I'd say 2 of those, 1 of those, 5 of those, blah, blah, until I got my 5 cents worth, and I had a bag full of candy, and I'd go out and share it with my friends. Yeah, it was fun. Mm-hmm. And I see some of those people now. Just recently, I went to a reunion meeting of a friend of mine, and I saw a young woman, she's not young now. I saw her, and I went up to her, and I said to her, KN, do you know who I am? And she looked at me, and she says, is that you, Veronica? I said, yeah, that's me. Yeah, it was,
How long it had been since you'd seen each other?
Oh, over 50 years, I would say.
Wow.
I mean, we moved away and she moved away.
Mm-hmm.
And I never saw her. Well, I don't think I ever saw her in high school. She would have been there. But years ago, the classes didn't mix as readily. When you went to freshman year, all your friends were in freshman classes. Now, when you go, you have freshmen, sophomore, juniors, all in different classes. And it wasn't like that so much. You went bum, 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 bum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you finished Danbury School, what did you do after you finished high school?
I went to WestCon. It was WestCon or nothing.
Mm-hmm. What for?
Teaching.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I wanted to go to New Britain so I could teach high school because I was good in math. But my father says, no, if you want to go, you can go to WestCon or you can get a job. Mm-hmm. Either I could go to work in the 5 and 10. I could work in a fur shop. I don't know, or I could go into nursing, and I didn't want to do nursing or something like that,
Mm-hmm. Did you work at all while you were in high school?
Yeah, I worked in the First National as a checker,
Mm-hmm.
and it just so happens that's how I met my husband. First National, he was in the service. He came home to see some of his buddies because he was brought up in Danbury also, and it was just funny. We were at a picnic. I didn't know him. He didn't know me either. We were in the water swimming. He said to me, I bet you can't swim across the lake. Now, this was at Candlewood side up where Squan's Pond is. I don't know if you know where. There's a causeway there. And Candlewood is on this side and Squan's Pond is on this side. When we lived in a cottage on Squan's Pond, in the summertime, my father had it built. It was a regular house, and I could swim across there and back. Of course, this young man didn't think I could swim. It wasn't even that far, so we swam across and back, and we got kicked out of the water. So that's how we met. So anyway.
And then, so you met, and did you get married shortly after high school or after college?
I was in college when I met him.
Oh, in college.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I was a freshman. Yeah, I think I was a freshman because we got married. When did we get married? I graduated from high school in 52. We got married in 54. And I graduated from college in 56. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was living in New Haven. He'd come back and forth every day. He'd come back down Friday night and go home. Come down Saturday and go home. Back then, no Mickey Mouse stuff, Mm-hmm. When we were going to be married in a week, and I said to my father, can't Ron stay over? We got that extra bedroom. People will talk. So he had to go back to New Haven and then come back. It was very different, mm-hmm. very different. Mm-hmm. Calm and relaxed.
And I see that you brought a bunch of stuff with you.
Yes, I
brought. Talk about that a bit?
Well, I have old papers. I have, let's see if I see anything. Now, see, this is from the flood.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something else. And and I have that little thing. That's where my dad was playing cards on River Street. Ron, my mother, and I went to get him. Never found him that night. He was taken, I got it all here, by LSD to the war memorial for the night. The three of us walked home up Main Street where the water near the old bus depot was up to our knees and very swift. We hung on to Ron for dear life. I guess I know our life has been dear ever since. Anyway.
So you do remember the flood then?
Oh yeah, I remember the flood. I remember the flood. Oh, this is when some people came to the senior center in Brookville and they were talking about old times, and they took that picture of my husband and I. Mm-hmm. What's this? Oh, this just I think shows.
Your husband was one of 11.
Yeah. This shows some of the flood pictures. I'm sure you have plenty of those.
This is all from the
Danbury News Times.
Yeah, we'll be able to get that.
Yeah. My husband used to live up on Towers Place, I believe, which was in back of the News Times. Mm-hmm. And I lived on River Street. Yeah, for my father's store. Never met him when I was a kid. He was 5 years older than me, so you didn't mix. At one point, his brother was in my 5th grade class, and I remember a little older brother that was in high school when I was there, but I don't think I ever had much of a conversation with them. There was no need to. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's some of those things.
Now, you said your parents lived in Danbury?
Yes. My mother was from Bridgeport. My father was in Danbury, and after they got married, of course, they lived over the tailor shop. But when I was due, my father took me took my mother to St. Vincent's Hospital. I have the bill from it for 10 days. I think it was like $35.
What was the name of your father's tailor shop?
Nick Owens Tailors.
Nick Owens Tailors.
Yeah.
How long was it open?
It was open from 8 o'clock in the morning till 9 at night.
How many years?
How many years? Oh, well, I remember him. He's had it all the time that I was little. And when they moved up to Main Street, they had it in the front of the house. They purchased the house is Ray's Drugstore still there on Main Street? No, okay. It was in the part of Main Street down near North Street, that little small block there. I think there's still a Chinese laundry there or something. Anyway, he bought the house there, and he still had that when I got married. So he had his tailor business, and when I got married, I was it must have been 20, maybe 20. 18, yeah. I must have been 20. So I'm thinking he had it there over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
He was in the tailoring business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then they were still in the tailoring business after I got married. When my father passed away, my mother kept it for a while, and then she went down to Florida, and she did some tailoring with, like the senior center. So that's it, yeah.
And how do you occupy your time now?
How do I occupy? Well, unfortunately, my husband passed away 3 months ago, so I haven't been too busy. But anyway, we were very active in the AARP, and for when it was really gung ho, I used to plan trips, and we took trips all over, the United States. We didn't go outside. We went as far as where did we go now? We went as far as California and Texas. And I always had the same group of people. We'd get a bus full of 50 people, and we went out to Mount Rushmore. Yeah, and we had a good time. But then as years goes on, the people started to die out, and there wasn't that much interest, and other groups were doing things, So we finally got to the point where we didn't have enough members for us to have a charter, so that was it. But, we did a lot of in-country traveling, and I don't know. We had a group that we used to go out with on night times. When it was holidays, there were different organizations that would have like a party. So you paid your fee and you went to the party, and thing was little. And we had a group of people that we played cards with. We went from one house to another on the weekends. On Saturday, we'd bring our kids along and put them to sleep in the bed. And when we were time to go home, we'd pick up our kids, take our kids, and go home. And every night, every weekend, we would go to a different house. And to this day, there's only one lady left The others have passed away. So, but that was, you know, that's how life was. It wasn't all hurry, worry, and all fancy dancy and expensive stuff. We didn't have the money. We didn't have the money.
And you were a teacher, you
I was
said.
a teacher.
Where?
Brookfield.
In Brookfield.
I taught 28 years, I think.
And that's where you live now?
Yes, I live in Brookfield now.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I love teaching. I still, when I think of it now, I worry about the kids now. I don't like the trends. You know, I guess I'm old-fashioned. I still see some of the teachers I taught with. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I still see my kids, I guess I call them. I'll say, see a kid, I'll say, I had you in kindergarten, you know. And they look down at me. Mrs. Smith? I don't know if it's good or bad that they remember me, but no, I enjoy, and I see their parents, and like if I go shopping, I'll see a parent, and I'll say, I think I had your kid in kindergarten. They'd look at me. Sometimes they'd recognize me before I recognized them. But I remember faces. I don't sometimes remember all the names. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice. Still nice. Brookfield's a nice town to grow up in. Yeah.
When did you move to Brookfield?
When did we move to Brookfield? Well, after I finished college and graduated, that must have been 52, 56. It must have been in 56. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we made our first house, and I was pregnant then, and I started teaching, and I had to leave before the end of the year, you know, and that we had our first daughter, and then we stayed in that house until we had our third daughter. And then we bought another house in Brookfield, a bigger house, 4-story. We were very lucky when we bought it because 2-story colonial on a nice big lot. It cost us $33,500, I think, $33,500. And they were building a house diagonally across the street, and we had been looking at that. Had we made it, and when it was done, that was put on the market for $69,000. So had we waited a couple of months, we wouldn't have been able to buy the house we bought.
Yeah.
And we still live in it.
Do you?
Yeah, I still live in it.
Oh, wow. That's
I
amazing.
do. The kids say, "Ma, you got to go. You got to go for some place where you have more activities." I said, "No, your father and I were here. I'll stay here as long as I can." So anyway, that's that.
Well, before we conclude, do you have anything else that you want to share with me or with us?
I don't know. What do you want to know about Danbury? Danbury was a nice town. It was nice when we had the Danbury Fair.
Do you have any specific memories of Danbury Fair?
No. When we were engaged and first married, we used to go to the races a lot up there. They had the car races. Yeah, it was cars, stock cars, every Saturday. I remember when we were engaged, Ronnie had to go to instructions because he wasn't Catholic, so he had to go to religious instruction, and we had to go St. Anthony's Church to Father Rizai Bell on Saturdays. We always hoped we got out early enough so we could get over to the races. No, my husband worked in the First National when he came back here, so it was a good life. You know. You didn't make much, but at the time you were more prudent. You know, you didn't really do things like young people want to go here, there, and everything. When Ron had a vacation, we always made sure we went someplace the kids would like. And that meant going like north to Santa's Village or something like that, where the kids could go on rides and stuff like that. It was a good life. It was a good life, you know. And I say to people, when I was little and he was little, we were poor and we didn't even know it. You know, I remember the first time I went to a friend's house. She asked me to come over and play. She lived up on Franklin Street Extension. I think the second house on the right as you're going up the hill, way up the hill. And I went to her house and I came to my home and I said, "Oh, Ma, you should have seen her house. She has her own bedroom and she has this and they have that." Well, we didn't have that at that time. At that time, I think we were still living over the tailor shop. And we had a one-floor combination living room, bedroom, We had a pot-bellied stove to keep us warm, big kitchen, a john, but no bathtub. If you took a bath, I think my father used to go in a big. I think my mother put a big tub on the floor, and pulled the curtain across, and I think that's where my father took his bath. You know, like I said, we were poor and we didn't know it, but we never lacked for food. I know my husband says, "Oh, there was always a pot of macaroni on the stove for my mother and all, what, 10 or 11 kids, you know, and yeah, it was nice."